Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to welcome Beth Frenzel, and she is the author of Lord, Write My Story. Beth, can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Absolutely. So I actually started it out as a love letter to my kids, my grown kids, Matt and Allie, and it kind of ended up becoming my legacy that I wanted to leave for them. I really highlight throughout the entire book, I start talking about what began my dream to become a firefighter, which I was blessed to be able to do. And then I talk about the loss of my dad when I was 13, and I really talk about the struggles and the challenges that I faced being a firefighter as a female in a mainly male world, and some of the challenges that my kids and I faced after I divorced their dad. And really, the book has scripture throughout it that is was answers to prayers for guidance, for help, for encouragement, for hope. And with the scripture that's throughout the book, I kind of talk about events in our life around that. And then I also talk about a lot of runs I was on and patients I took care of throughout my 29 and a half years as a career firefighter. And also by being deployed throughout the country with Indiana Task Force One, which is a FEMA urban search and rescue team. So the book is kind of filled with a lot of things and situations that people could really identify with, but also just hope and some amusement in some of the runs that I talk about.
Beth, what was
Thank
your
you.
inspiration for writing the book?
Well, when my career ended as a firefighter, I had back surgery, and there was 4.5 months of complete uncertainty for me. And that's when I really started crying out to God and writing. It was a way to just dump everything that was in my mind, weighing me down onto paper. And I started crying out to God to heal me from past hurts, from the different challenges that I faced in the firehouse, and so that it didn't affect my current and future relationships. And in my crying out, God started telling me to write my story. And then I began to wrestle with God and kind of defiantly argue and say, well, you heal me, and then I'll write my story. And he very clearly started saying the healing is in the writing.
Mm.
And because I truly did want to be healed, I did sit down to start writing of my own will, and I couldn't figure out what to include. I did what do I write about? How much do I put in? And so I finally went away so that I wasn't distracted and had excuses for not writing. And I took all the scripture that we had over the years and all the notebooks, and I really just sat down and said, Lord, I I need you to write my story. And it goes back to Mark 10:51 with the blind man that's begging, the Lord, Lord, please, he's wanting him to heal him. And Jesus looks at him and says, what do you want me to do for you? And he says, I want to be healed. And I envision Jesus standing in front of me and saying, what do you want me to do for you? And my answer was, write my story. And that's where the title came from. And that's where I really sat down. And in 14-hour days, I wrote the book and started in on the second one. So it was for healing for me, for my kids. And then I realized it really can kind of be healing for a lot of people because I cover so much in my book that I face and things that happen to me, that I realized that people could actually heal from my story as much as I could. So that's where the book came from in the title.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm so glad that you had the courage to follow that prompting from God and that you were able to write it because, like you said, I think that, whenever we write, it not only heals us, but the person that's reading your book,
Mhm.
it could help them with any
Right.
situations that they're going through that might be similar to what you went through, whether it
Mhm.
be being a woman in a male dominated career field or going through divorce. So I'm really
Mhm.
glad that you wrote this.
Thank
Beth,
you.
yeah, you're welcome. Is there anything else you can share about the book or any of the messages
Yeah.
in the book or about yourself?
Yeah. So part of the book, and I talk about this in Lord Write My Story, and I touch on it a little bit because it is part of our bigger story. My kids and I, we were in a car accident in 2005, and my son spent time in heaven. He had a near-death experience, and um, we were all in the car. And I talk about, and I just highlight in Lord Write My Story, being trapped in the car and working on saving Matt's life and his time in heaven, although there's not a deep experience, like I don't share all that.
Mhm.
But I do reference a second book. I have since finished that second book, and it was co-written between me and my kids. So it's conversational between the kids and I,
Mhm.
but it really focuses on the time heading into the car accident. I give all the details of being trapped in the car and my thought processes behind what I was doing in saving Matt's life, and all the details of his time in heaven and the struggles and the adversities and some of the triumphs that we faced after he came back from heaven in the years since. So that was 20 years ago. So the second book is actually out on paperback and ebook. It just came out in ebook, and it's heading to audiobook as well. So as we're talking about Lord Write My Story, which is available in all those formats.
Uh,
Now, Heaven Interrupted is the second book, and this is what the title is, and the book looks like, the cover, which is very similar to Lord Write My Story. So that's super exciting. It was fun to do that with my kids. It was healing as well, going through what all of us were thinking during and after the accident. And so we're very vulnerable in both stories about our struggles, our adversities, but again, I think there's hope wrapped up in both books, and some of it's amusing, and there's some laughter, and there's definitely some tears involved when you read both books. So we're super excited for that to come out, for us to finally be talking about and sharing with anybody Matt's time in heaven and the hope that people have in heaven.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So this is really exciting. And I
yeah,
know that people are going to be so interested in this topic. And
yeah.
then just also, I'm just thinking about the fact that, that you're a firefighter and you kind of probably knew what to do to help save his life. So
Right,
yeah, I feel
right.
like that was just a super, super big blessing for him.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah.
just the fact that you guys got to write that together. That's really,
It
really cool. Very exciting.
was very cool. It's very exciting for them to be authors. And, we never set out to be authors. This was God's plan for this season of our life. We didn't see it coming, probably for the best because we might have run from it, to be quite honest. I will say though that in the writing process for both books, which was different for both books, I had to learn. I'm very strong-willed, very strong-minded, which has, it's been good for patience that I've been that way for my son, but it's submitting my will for God's will.
Mhm.
And when I submitted and fully let him write both books,
Mhm.
I did not know he wanted me to publish. I thought I was literally writing my kids a love letter and it was going to be printed and that was it. After I printed it for them, he said, publish. And
Wow.
I then again wrestled with God. And, out of that, I submitted to his will and I sent it in and it's been published. So the important thing for me to learn in this season of my life moving forward is what I should have known all along is, God's will, not mine.
Mhm.
And the act of fully submitting myself to his will was a learning curve, and he has blessed me in the process. And I'm hoping that for everybody that reads both books, that they also are blessed by our story, because God redeemed our stories so that hopefully they could bring hope for others. So we're very, very excited about this.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for sharing, Beth. This is
yeah,
wonderful.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, for anybody who's interested in picking up a copy, again, it's Beth Frenzel, and the title is Lord, Write My Story. You can get it on barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, and Apple Books, to name a few. Thank you for being with us today, Beth.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome. Thank you.